Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Lockdown 23 and 1. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we're traveling down to Milwaukee to witness a man by the name of Zachariah Anderson get sentenced for his crimes, which just so happened to be the stalking and murder of his ex-girlfriend's new boyfriend. But there's some catches in this case, and I'm going to break them down before we hear the defendant plead his innocence to the judge before the smoke. Smoke over here in this channel means a lot of time. The more time, the thicker the smoke. So yeah, I'm going to break down a little bit of intel on the case before we get into the courtroom, but if this happens to be your first time on this channel, that means you like the judicial system in some way, shape, or form. So look, hit that like, subscribe, notification bell before you leave, and check out my playlist because I got a ton more videos just like this waiting for you right now. After nearly 10 hours of deliberation, a jury returned a guilty verdict on all 4 counts against Mr. Anderson. Prosecutors said Anderson, 42, murdered Gutierrez Jr. in May 2020. His body has not been found. You know, a lot of people in the jails that I've seen say all the time that murder is one of the easiest cases to beat. And I'm not going to lie, I've seen a few gangsters throughout my time beat murder cases that everybody knew they did. But one thing that makes it pretty hard to get a conviction is when there's no body to be found. Like, is a person even dead? You know, you don't know. Nobody knows. Yeah, he's disappeared and there's a lot of blood or something at the scene, but there's no body. So it's going to go down to pretty much circumstantial evidence. I just wanted you to keep that in the back of your mind. A criminal complaint states Anderson had been stalking his ex-girlfriend for weeks because he was jealous of her new relationship. Anderson allegedly put a burner phone in her car to track her movements and used another GPS tracker and listening device to stalk the couple. Gutierrez was reported missing May 19th. Kenosha police detectives conducted a welfare check and discovered large amounts of blood throughout his apartment. Beckham, Anderson's ex-girlfriend, immediately told the officers about Anderson's alleged stalking. Why did she say that to the police immediately? It's because she probably knew for a fact that her ex done killed that man. I mean, that's one of the first things that these detectives do is try to find out if they had any issues with anybody, especially in married relationships or something like that. Were they cheating? Did they get caught cheating? Anything that would cause some kind of dispute, give them some kind of reason to kill the person. So that's going to make the trail hot on Mr. Anderson's case right off the bat. Authorities found Gutierrez's blood in Anderson's Dodge minivan, which was also missing a large section of carpet and smelled of bleach, according to the complaint. That right there, me personally, if I was a detective, would be signs of 100% guilt. And a jury, if I were to guess, look, just by hearing that little bit of intel, probably already found him guilty in their mind. No way all this shit is connected and he had nothing to do with the murder. So that's one of the biggest pieces of evidence against him right there in the case. Anderson was charged with first-degree intentional homicide, 2 counts of stalking, and 1 count of hiding a corpse. A smoldering burn pit was located at Anderson's home on May 19th, which is pretty much the day the guy went missing. A cadaver dog reportedly found pieces of clothing and a charred bleach bottle. Authorities located a second burn pit at a nearby tree farm owned by Anderson's family, where more clothing was reportedly found. Now, just to keep everything reasonable, right? Because anything's possible. His defense team argues that Anderson's clothes showed no stains of blood or anything related to what might have went down. On May 18th, the day that Gutierrez disappeared, Anderson claims he was picking up his tax returns, but can you be picking up your tax returns all day and night? Also in 2018, Anderson applied for controlled burns in his yard through the city, couple years before this guy went missing, so who knows, maybe he burns things on a regular basis, I don't know. But that's what the defense brought the jury's way, you know. He could be burning anything. That's what he does. He burns shit. He's got permits for it. Jury don't care, man. They don't care. This thing adds up too good for him not to be a killer. And if you're to ask me, this is what really signed sealed his fate. Anderson's 14-year-old daughter took the stand to testify against him. The minor testified about the time she went with Anderson on the early morning hours of April 25th, 2020, to his ex-girlfriend Beckham's house, peered through the window, and saw Beckham with her new boyfriend. The minor also said that Anderson brought a chainsaw to her family's tree farm to have the other family members help him fix it. Why would you need a chainsaw? Possibly to dismember the body? But that's the bulk of it, so let's go ahead and jump into the courtroom and see what he has to say to the judge before the sentencing.
Is there anything you wish to say before sentence is pronounced? How much time do I got?
Well, I'm going to talk about that a little bit. Oh, you mean how much? Oh, I
Oh my
misunderstood.
God, the
I've
judge
had
thought he was
people
already
give a
talking about
Yeah,
the
slightly
we're not
different
smoke.
version of
not that
that.
version. Yeah.
How much time do you have to talk?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you a reasonable period. I mean, this is one of the major events of your life, so you're certainly welcome to speak.
This is probably the most nonchalant damn sentencing I've ever seen. And the judge seems to be feeding into it. Look, this is the most important part of your life right here. I'll let you burn a few minutes, man. Go right ahead.
I'm going to say it's unlimited, but you're welcome to tell me what you think. Speak from your heart.
I don't want to go into all the details of the case. We got a lot of dispute about what was said, what was portrayed. I think the facts, with a little more scrutiny, tell a much different story than what the jury decided. And I don't think that things played out fairly. I think that there's some things that are not just from our side, questions outstanding for both sides. And I don't think the court accomplished what it set out to do in any means if both sides are left with so many questions. And I don't think, without going into the case, I don't think we really got to the heart of the matter. What I can tell you is I didn't kill anybody. What I can tell you is I didn't stalk anybody. And what I can tell you is I didn't dispose of any corpse. It's really weird to be sentenced for or convicted for it and soon to be sentenced for it, but I didn't, Judge.
I don't believe one damn word that came out this guy's mouth. I feel like I've got the gift of discernment, and this guy, man, like I said, he's giving me major Ted Bundy vibes. Psychopathic, narcissistic individual that's always worried about his image. Even while doing life sentence, he'll probably still try to maintain that spectacular image that he sees himself as. But that's just me, you know. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I love hearing y'all's input.
Kind of feels like there's no turning around on that now. I don't really know how to make a better statement of my opposition. But I disagree. I'm innocent. I don't know what you're going to decide. I don't know what you're all going to weigh. I don't even know how to represent my own character without having my family be able to testify on my behalf. But they do have some things that are relevant. I mean, even during the trial, there was a gentleman who tried to come up and talk to me. I think there was a comment about how now everything has happened during the trial. When he made that attempt, nobody really knew who he was, and I do know who he is. He's a man who I saved from assault in jail. He's actually related to one of the jailers, and my heart went out to him because I know he appeared inebriated, and I know he struggles. And I know he was coming up here to talk to me because we got along so good. But those tiny little moments throughout somebody's life, nobody accounts for those. But what they do a really good job of is making up all of these things that they want you to believe when they can label you as a monster.
All right. He's lecturing you now,
Still
Your Honor.
didn't. It's still weird. I want to be remorseful, and I am for the things that I did wrong.
Look at these guys.
And you're welcome to sentence me for everything that I did wrong, just like the judge in South Dakota. The only thing that I disputed in that instance was whether or not I was coming back to Wisconsin with that, which the prosecution has now repeatedly made false statements about. On their own assumptions. Was I caught with marijuana in my car? Yeah. Yeah, I was. Should I have? No. Did I bend the rules there? Broke them. Broke the rules. And when they said, hey, this is a problem, I said, well, I did knowingly, and I'll be held accountable for it. That's it. And if I killed somebody, whatever that situation was, I can tell you in my own heart it wouldn't be intentional. But if I didn't at all, a guy I never met, I don't really know what this is, but I didn't do it. I'm innocent, Judge. Not guilty. I'm innocent.
I feel like this guy rehearsed his money in the cell in front of the mirror about 20 times. Maybe not even 20, just a couple times because he's so good at it. But who knows? Maybe he didn't do it. You know, like I said, I'd love to hear y'all's input. But he brought up some marijuana incident where he pretty much confessed to it, and he's gonna, handle his business like a man. He'll tell him straight up if he did something wrong. But murder's a little bit different than a little bit of reefer, Mr. Anderson. And I don't give a damn if you told the truth your whole life. When you're facing life in prison, even the most truthful person started lying.
Came out of law school and took my first job right here in Kenosha as an assistant district attorney.
Nice, Your Honor. Nice.
The statutory penalty for what the equivalent of this crime, murder of the first degree, was life imprisonment, as it is today. And before an individual was eligible for parole, 13 years plus, I think, 3 months, something like that, had to be served. And only at that time could the individual apply for a parole. And not a lot of people got paroled at that time. Over the next period of years, maybe within 10 years, the legislature had,
Lecture
as
him,
I
Your Honor.
recollect,
Lecture
and I
him.
think at the behest of the Department of Corrections, had reduced that minimum parole period to around 11 years.
Wow.
And they had it down to around 9 when the
Pandemic, Your Honor?
law started to change,
Oh.
and the legislature passed a law under the sponsorship of Senator Joseph Andrea from Kenosha, means life law, and it didn't provide exactly what it does now for absolute denial of eligibility for parole, but it did allow the judge to fix the minimum period to be served before a person convicted could be eligible for a parole.
So what's the updated version, sir?
And
Just get to it.
then ultimately the legislature made further modifications to the point that the court now has the authority to deny eligibility for release altogether.
We're nodding
It's
out.
interesting that
back here, Your Honor.
the statutory penalty has never changed.
God, is
Life
that Count
imprisonment.
Dracula?
But the eligibility for release has changed very dramatically. And of course, that means not that you get paroled, but you could apply for a release to extended supervision. The price for intentional homicide in this degree remains the same, life imprisonment.
All right. No need to have said anything then.
And every life is the same. These people have come here and expressed their very touching, moving sentiments about this person whom they loved. And that all is permitted for them to do because they're the victims and they've suffered a loss without any contribution on their part or that of Mr. Gutierrez. They've suffered a loss, which the jury has found, as was their power, to have been caused by you. So they're entitled not only to express their mourning condition, but also to focus on what the text of the law actually says and ask that you be sentenced to life imprisonment. But the legislature, although it could do so, has never provided
He kind of got a Brad
that
Pitt look to
life
him.
means life in those explicit terms, except in some cases where the judge cuts it off.
Uh-oh.
And in a very high percentage of the cases, I do deny eligibility for extended supervision. But it's not every case, and every case has to be looked at separately, as your lawyer has pointed out. But like physicians
Uh-oh.
at the hospital, when they have
So you got something
people
to say?
brought in from a shooting incident, are not permitted to discriminate on the basis of age or sex or religion, or
Goodness,
even
come on, Your Honor, please,
maybe a
please.
police officer who's shot.
Please.
And the guy who shot him, the physicians are trained and are ethically bound to treat people
What the hell's going on with this guy? There's
in
an SOS
order
coming
so
back
as to
up.
preserve
That
life.
meat rock. Brake patty.
They're not allowed to treat the less seriously injured and let the
He's about to puke from this
excuse me,
long
they're
lecture.
not allowed to treat the less seriously injured police officer before they treat the person who shot him.
I'm completely lost. I don't know. I'm lost.
It's at the core of our beliefs about the value of human life.
Gosh.
And it is expected, and it should be the same for judges.
Oh, look at the drapes in this puppy. All right, it's enough of this.
Every
It's time for the courtroom analysis. I have never seen a courtroom with a 3,000 count hand-threaded drapes from the lost city of Atlantis. Unbelievable. And look at this chair of regality. Remarkable, Your Honor. I've never seen a state seal embedded in rhino skin. Not to mention the two beautiful styles of birch. The Himalayan birch is a deciduous tree native to the western Himalayas, hand-whittled by the secret tribe known as the Putanabs. They also have sweet birch, native to eastern North America, which is actually symbolism from Himalayas to the North Americas. Justice will be served, especially in this courtroom. Alright, just back up the oil truck already. Man, look at the handrest.
on the first count of the information,
God, blow my eardrum out, Your Honor.
it is the sentence of the court that your custody be committed to the Department of Corrections for a period of 2 years, followed by a 2-year period of extended supervision. On the second count, for an identical sentence to be served consecutively.
Oh, that's not what you want to hear.
On the fourth count of the information, hiding a corpse, for a period of 6 years of initial confinement, followed by 5 years of extended supervision, to be served consecutively to counts 1 and 2. And on the third count of the information, it is the sentence of the court that your custody be committed to the Department of Corrections for confinement in the Wisconsin state prisons for the remainder of your life. This sentence is consecutive to and not concurrent with the sentences on the other 3 counts. The period of eligibility for extended supervision will not occur until 40 years following the date upon which you start the sentence on count 3.
But there are a few things that we can learn from this case. First things first, you can definitely be found guilty without a body, just circumstantial evidence. So anybody out there think they got a chance just because there ain't no body, think again. Your chances might be a little bit better, but they're still pretty low. Second of all, this is something I had no idea about. I actually thought you got a lot of time for it. But disposing of a dead body, I think, only carries like a maximum of like 5 to 6 years. You would think they get a lot more time for it, but like I said, I brought a few cases to the channel where these guys are getting like 5, 6 years, just like this guy did for disposing of a body. And another huge piece of advice about this story is, look, don't be going to look for something that you don't want to be seeing. I mean, you remember the story the little girl said that he went to his ex's house, peeked in the window, and seen the boyfriend there. If he's in dead love with this girl, man, that's gonna trigger him. As a matter of fact, I'm about to be bringing a story y'all's way about probably the worst stalking case I've ever seen in my life. This dude loves a girl so much that he tattooed her name on him probably about 90 times. But hopefully y'all enjoyed today's episode, and like I said, stay tuned. I got plenty more content coming your way.